Tonight on Reel to Reel, we'll be honoring the Diocese of Trenton when we meet Trenton's Bishop, Most Reverend John Reiss, and speak to him about the care and administration of the faithful of his diocese. We'll travel to St. Mary's Cathedral, our parish profile, and get a glimpse of the major events surrounding the development of this diocese. All this tonight on Reel to Reel. Hello, I'm Monsignor Charles Meinov.
And I'm Pat Shelton. Welcome to Reel to Reel.
Pat, do you ever feel to realize how welcome we are to so many homes week after week after week? And it gets not embarrassing, but just a joy to have so many people say, "Aren't you the one I see on television?"
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Does it?
It's not a day goes by that at least one of you doesn't approach me and say, "Hey, aren't you that girl on Reel to Reel?" Well, yes, I am, and thank you for coming up to say hello. We really appreciate it.
You just like the idea of being called a girl, that's it. Well, we've had all the privileges we do have. I have a special one for in this program because you're going to get a chance to meet with me, Bishop John C. Reiss, the Bishop of the Trenton Diocese.
And I know you've enjoyed Bishop Reiss on the Christmas and Easter messages each year, but today we have a special treat, a glimpse into his personal background.
John Charles Reiss was born May 13, 1922, to Alfred and Sophia Reiss. Growing up in Red Bank, New Jersey, he was one of 11 children. After attending Seton Hall University and Immaculate Conception Seminary in Darlington, New Jersey, Father John Reiss was ordained to the priesthood in 1947 at St. Mary's Cathedral in Trenton. Following a series of assignments as an associate pastor, in 1953, he was appointed Master of Ceremonies and Secretary to Bishop George R., initiating a close association with the episcopacy of the Trenton Diocese, which led to his appointment as Auxiliary Bishop in 1967 and culminated in his installation as the 8th Bishop of Trenton in St. Mary's Cathedral on April 22, 1980. At the time of his installation, the Diocese of Trenton was comprised of the counties of Burlington, Hunterdon, Mercer, Middlesex, Monmouth, Ocean, Somerset, and Warren, with over 800,000 Catholics. However, in 1981, just over 100 years after the formation of the Trenton Diocese, a new diocese was formed in Metuchen, serving Catholics from the counties of Middlesex, Warren, Somerset, and Hunterdon. Today, the Trenton Diocese has over 600,000 Catholics in its 4-county area. In 11 years as ordinary, Bishop John Reiss has been known to face issues as they arise. To the casual observer, he appears rather reserved, but he has taken an active interest and role in the medical, ethical, social, and educational needs of the faithful of Trenton, and has been an ardent supporter of the efforts of diocesan religious and laity in meeting those needs. Under his episcopacy, the permanent diaconate has flourished. Today, the diocese has over 160 permanent deacons. He is also an active member of the board of the Delaware Valley Catholic Office for TV and Radio, which produces Reel to Reel. When his schedule permits, Bishop Reiss has been an active bowler and has an average of 163 per game. In the 29 years that he has been a member of the league, his evenings out with the men of the Holy Name Society have allowed him the unique opportunity of being able to mingle, listen, and learn firsthand from the everyday people of the diocese that he has shepherded so well over the years, under his motto of, "Let us love one another."
Bishop John C. for Charles Reiss. It's so nice to have you with us, Bishop. I got Charles from the parish. Where did you get Charles from?
Probably from the godfather.
Oh, good. Well, it's so nice.
He was a John Charles, so I got his name for it.
Well, it's so nice to have you with us because I always feel at home with Trenton Diocese.
Good.
In the early days of Reel to Reel, we did so much in Trenton, and you've always been so supportive of the whole Delaware Valley program. And to see you here in person, to have so much to talk to you about, let's talk. How are things with you? Good?
I'm in good health. I work hard once in a while. I found Holy Week to be a very, very restful time, a very spiritual time, and we got through that. So now we're ready to go back to the
It's a very
schedules.
spiritual time of Holy Week. It's interesting because the feast days give us a chance to kind of cycle things back. How did you make out, how do you feel the whole the diocesan program of Renew went for Trenton? It's been there for a good while now.
It's been there for a good while. We found it very helpful to the local parishes to build up the people to come together, to know that they can study Scripture and look at it and then make the personal applications to their own lives, and then begin to live it out together with a group, and like a family, moving together, and in that way, building up the spiritual life of the parish, because their example affects the other people.
It's so hard to see results on something like that, but some results are tangible enough, I suppose, in a renewed program.
The tangible results would be what you see in the person's own spiritual development, and then the influence that they have on the parish. They begin not only just to go to Mass on Sunday and receive the sacrament, they begin to get involved in all the other programs. And in that way, their spirituality reaches out and spreads and touches the lives of many people.
But your contribution is so great, Bishop, because the Camden Diocese and now Philadelphia Archdiocese is going to begin a whole renewal program, and you have given us experience already.
I would encourage them, and the best thing to do is tell the people they're not going to be made saints. We're not going to be going around hands joined all the time, but it's very theologically sound. It'll affect their lives, and it'll make them spiritually grow, and at the same time give them personal satisfaction. Doesn't mean they're not going to have problems, but they'll be able to face them with the assurance that as a group, talking together, they get supported in what they want to do, and then it's like the circle. It just draws out and touches the lives of the old, the middle-aged, the young, and even the children, because the ones who are involved, if they have children, they bring in a lot of that spirituality to the home.
When you say young, you mean collegians also, Bishop?
Oh, yes. They're a hard group to meet. To get that group from graduate of high school until the time they get married, that young adult, the 18 to maybe 30, that's...
because it's such an indecisive time anymore.
It is. And we find, for instance, I know you and I, we probably made up our mind about, and our classmates, we knew in high school what we were going to do. With doctor, go to college.
That's right.
But now it's pushed back. And this comes up in another way. I don't want to steal your thunder, but sure. When you move into vocations, our experience today is the youngsters coming out of high school aren't really sure of what they want to do. But when you reach to the college level, this is where most of our vocations are coming from. Not only that, some of those who are out of school and have remained single, and they begin to get interested in serving the church and in the priesthood. So it's an older seminarian.
Now, how about did Renew in your diocese help the development of vocational programs as well?
It would affect, I would say so, yes, because as you know too, one of the problems is that families sometimes seem to be opposed to vocations. Either they want to carry on the family name, or they don't think it's, today it's not the glamour profession where everybody looked up to the priest. The criticism of the priest is very strong, and some parents might feel a little upset about that. But with a Renew program, and the families say, well, look, this is a spiritual thing, and the hope that they get back to the idea that to have a vocation from the family is definitely a special grace of God and helps the family life. Besides that, it's the life of the parish.
Are there good parish programs going on now for vocations?
We have this one that instituted called by name. It's a Sunday is set aside, and they speak about vocations, and then they ask the people in the pews to designate names of persons whom they think, from their own observation, would make a good candidate. It takes a lot of work because the vocation director has to get all those responses. They divide them down to the parishes, and then they begin to reach out to the names that they receive. And sometimes it's interesting that people will give the same name. Different people will give the same name.
Really?
So they are observant of the ones around them.
I'm just surprised that people would do that, sit down and write the name of a kid.
Yes, they are. There's some funny ones once in a while, but somebody that they know definitely won't, they'll just slip the name in. So they have to be screened before they
oh, yes.
And it takes our vocation director a good time to get around to the local parishes, call them together even with their local parish priest, and discuss it.
I talked to a vocation director once and said, what are your programs? Do you have any large diocesan programs? He said, no, I just make house calls now.
Oh.
Do you think that's what's called by name would
Well,
eventually
that
be in a parish?
it would come down to that, because you call up the person and said this has come, or you send them a letter and then follow it up and bring them together, and they have a period of discernment. The vocation director will speak about the priesthood, what are the requirements, the spiritual life, and bring it down to, good mind that can study. And they don't have to be geniuses. And again, we don't look for all those who would be too pious, right. But the real strong basic faith.
I don't think
service.
that Renew program is a vocational program.
No.
But I would think if Renew program works, and if Renewal in our diocese is going to work, I think it's going to be evidence in the fact there will be a growth in vocational
there
promotion.
Should be you call it a spin-off or a byproduct, but it's a way that the Renew program can influence the parish life and get other people to start thinking about whether or not they have a vocation and really want to give their life to the service of God.
It's a wonderful chance to speak about the spiritual renewal of a diocese and a parish life. And I want to continue some more of this with Bishop Reiss in a few seconds, but would you please stand by? We'll be right back.
For more than 80 years, Extension Magazine has been telling the story of those missionaries who bring the Catholic faith to the poorest and most isolated parts of our country. You can bring this Catholic tradition into your home with a free introduction to Extension Magazine. You and your family will be inspired by stories of real people in Mission America, like the people who found that a statue of the Sacred Heart became the symbol of their unshakable faith after their small Texas town was destroyed by a tornado. Or the priest in Utah who kept his parish alive by making donuts. You'll find religious articles and updates, concrete spiritual insights, plus much more. For a free introduction to Extension Magazine, write Mission America, care of Extension, 35 East Wacker Drive, Chicago, Illinois, 60601.
We're also afraid of death, but people with AIDS can teach us about life.
I might say a bishop's lot is not an happy one, but it is happy, Bishop, to be a bishop, I think, to be a father of so much in the family life of the diocese.
I would say most of it is, yes.
But one of the roles of a father, though, he has to make some legislation every so often. How do you deal with that?
Well, that's why we're in the process of putting together a diocesan synod. It'll be the fourth diocesan synod. We've delayed a little bit. The last one was 1931 or something.
Yes.
But then all the changes in the church, then the Vatican II, and for all time, all those documents finally came out. Now it's time to take those that they've been in process in the diocese, but now we wanted to synthesize them. And actually, synod is a legislative body. We make laws, but laws are I always think they're guidelines.
I'm so glad to hear you say that.
And they're not to be restrictive. And they restrict in one sense, but it also shows how much more freedom you have. Just take the liturgy, for instance. There are many, many legitimate choices. So you have all those choices that you can make, but again, you have to have parameters. You can't go beyond something. And that's what the law will say. Well, you can do this, or you can go this far, but you cannot go beyond that.
Yeah, because a law is not inhibitive at all. You take a law applied to, say, a pastor and his people in a parish, the synod is not going to hamper them in any way.
Oh, no. It should, in fact, it might open up a lot of lines that they didn't even think about before, and it can assist the people. And the idea of the legislation is to help the people, or help the pastors, first of all, that they know that how can they better serve their people. It's to give them the impetus and the ideas, and even a little jolt once in a while, say, why aren't you giving this type of service to your people? They are looking for it. And part of the process is that we are dealing with the clergy, religious, and laity on our various commissions. They will be heard, and coming from the pew again, and maybe even going home, the delegates going home and talking to people, they'll come up with saying, this is what the people feel that they need, rather than coming from on high down. We can get some, part of it will have to come. There are things we can't do.
Sure. Is it difficult, though, to keep the difference between a pet peeve and a real need?
Well, that is where the commissions are going to find their hard work.
Mm-hmm.
They will have to listen to people. It's not a private agenda. They have to stay. We supplied them with many documents. Our poor secretaries were overworked copying things from Vatican II, copying things that have come out, the various decrees coming out later, and all of these things. They copied and sent them, and even articles to help them to read and get into the spirit of it. And that way, they say, look, we're not trying to, for instance, I will just take an example. I think everybody should have the Latin Mass. No, it's there. Mm-hmm. That might be a pet peeve of somebody, but no, okay, we'll do it this way. And there are rules governing that all the way down the line, so we follow those.
Will the, I want to call it, for want of a better word, legislation of a synod help those who are underprivileged much more? So I say, for instance, Hispanics. Is there a chance for them to come out more?
Yes.
It seems to be a very difficult role in the diocese.
Right. We have going to involve our Hispanics. We have, you can never get the correct number.
Yes.
That'll vary anywhere from 10,000, 30,000, as high as maybe 70,000, but they're not all going to church.
Yes.
And this way they can hear their problems and what they might be looking for. For instance, by nature, I think they're more fundamentally inclined. They're not fundamentalists, but
Yes.
fundamentally inclined to Scripture. So we have to make this available to them. Hey, wait, this is the kind of a program that they need. Give them some scriptural programs and see that your preaching is scripturally oriented in a way that that fits their culture. So the Hispanic culture, and then try to weave them together. We don't want to, our intention now is not to make any more Hispanic parishes, but if we can follow our program and get bilingual priests and then integrate them into the parish so that those who have already come here and been assimilated into this, they can see the new culture.
Then the integration becomes a tougher problem for you, because then you talk about education.
That's right.
That's a broader scope again.
Yes. It is, when you make a law, you have to give the theories behind it. Mm-hmm. See, we hope, now I don't know how it's going to turn out, we hope that we'll say a chapter on the liturgy will be, we call it dispositive. These are all the things and the nice problems that we should be working for, and the rule and the aims and directives. Then we put down the laws so that people can see the reason behind it and understand it, and then they use the word as catechesis. They have to be explained to them, and the implementation program will be just as important as the legislation. And that way, all of our people can benefit from it.
Does it all wind up on your desk, or do you got help for this?
Well, fortunately, I got help. We have Bishop Kimmick has been designated as the kind of the overall moderator. We have Father Len Troiano is kind of the executive secretary. He's the one that's finding the documents, seeing that they get the right people, that the people. And then we'll have a couple of public sessions that may take all day.
Father Troiano better get some help.
Well, he has. I mean, we have a steering committee, then we have the commissions, and then we have subcommittees to the commissions. So it's apportioned out that no one will be overburdened, and that way we move forward.
And that kind of apportion, too, gets more and more people involved. Therefore, the interest and enthusiasm should be there.
It should be there, and then, of course, it gives them the other thing. The other part is possession. Yeah. We did it, and it's not something totally imposed. Because the strange part about a synod, there's only one legislator.
Yes.
That's the bishop, the ordinary. So he gets all the material. I'll have to read it and critique it. It'll all have been done, but I'll be be the one that.
But you used a beautiful word, Bishop, when you said the happiness of possession. I think many of us Catholics don't realize how much we possess in our faith.
You're right, because just take, as we experienced, a few weeks ago, Holy Week, and how all of that, the people come out, and they're really part of it, especially with our new liturgy. They can sing, they can have their readers, and then time for meditation, and it becomes part of their life. And I think this is really the aim of all of our teaching, is to take our doctrines, bring it down to the local level, and say, now, this is what I believe, and this is what I want to do.
That's the nice thing, I think, about having you with us today, because we now know how much we belong to you, and you belong to us. And the same will be for Bishop McHugh in Camden, Archbishop Bevilacqua in Philadelphia. We kind of put our bishops away far from us, so they're so objective. We don't see the subjective possession we have one with the other.
We get this in some way by going around on confirmation and mingling with the people. That's one way that I have, and that way you visit a number of parishes in the year. You see those who are coming out, the parents and the grandparents, and of course the youngsters. We can't forget them.
The beauty of this is now you're going around to all your parishes today in this program. I want to thank you so much for all that you do for us in the Delaware Valley TV, because we are part of your diocese, and Trenton now has more to offer than you ever realized. Mostly you offer us Bishop Reiss. Thank you, Bishop Reiss, for coming to join us on
Very pleased to be with you. Very pleased.
Oh, I haven't seen this in years.
Grandma, who's that? Is that great-grandpa and grandma?
Yes, it is. And that's Ellis Island. Your great-grandparents worked very hard to get there.
Why'd they come here?
Well, like many immigrants, they wanted to fulfill their beliefs and dreams.
About God?
About many things, especially God.
Religious freedom. A message from your Catholic neighbors.
Says that colon cancer is 90% curable if treated early. Maybe we should get a checkup.
Honey, I have more important things to worry about right now.
We welcome your comments, suggestions, and donations and encourage you to write us at Reel to Reel, St. Charles Seminary, 1000 East Wynwood Road, Overbrook, PA 19096, or call us during regular business hours at 668-9842.
It was lovely meeting Bishop Reiss. He's such a warm and friendly gentleman. No doubt you've noticed that the program tonight has revolved around the Diocese of Trenton. Well, in keeping with our theme, tonight we visit Trenton and historic Old St. Mary's Cathedral, tonight's parish profile.
Here on the grounds of St. Mary's Cathedral stands a bronze tablet inscribed with the historical events that took place on this site. The Stacy Potts House, which once stood here, was the location for two significant events throughout Trenton's history. It was December of 1776, during the Revolutionary War, when the house was occupied by Colonel Johann Gottlieb Rahl, commander of the Hessian troops. During his occupancy, he died in defense against General Washington's troops in the First Battle of Trenton. The Potts House also hosted the Continental Congress since its adjournment from Annapolis in June of 1784, when it moved to Trenton and reconvened on November 1st with its president, Richard Henry Lee. The Congress remained there until January 11th, 1785, when it moved to New York. The house was demolished in 1857, and on April 23, 1866, the ground was broken for St. Mary's Church. On the other side of town, Father Anthony Smith, pastor of St. John's Church in Trenton, realized the growth in population and purchased the Potts property to build a missionary church of St. John's. This new church's cornerstone was laid July 15, 1866, by Bishop Bailey of Newark. 5 years later, St. Mary's Church was completed and dedicated, New Year's Day, 1871. Over a decade later, on July 15, 1881, the Diocese of Trenton was formed. Bishop Michael J. O'Farrell, first Bishop of Trenton, chose St. Mary's as his cathedral church, and Father Smith was appointed first Vicar General of the new diocese. The bishops that served at St. Mary's Cathedral are Michael Joseph O'Farrell, James Augustine McFall, Thomas Joseph Walsh, John Joseph McMahon, Moses Elias Kiley, William Aloysius Griffin, and George William R. During Bishop R's time of service, a tragic event occurred. On March 14, 1956, a fire broke out and destroyed the cathedral and rectory. The rector, Monsignor Richard T. Crean, and 2 housekeepers, Miss Mary Brennan and Miss Mary Donnellan, were killed in the fire. 3 years after the fire, in March 1959, the new church was completed and dedicated. A plaque hangs in the foyer in remembrance of those who lost their lives in the incident. Inside the cathedral, which can accommodate 1,000 persons, the Romanesque style of architecture dominates. The limestone and marble cathedral, with a 42 by 50-foot sanctuary, is enhanced by a sculptured canopy which rests above this area. Today, Bishop John Charles Reiss serves the Diocese of Trenton since its installation in 1979.
Legislation, sanctification, but what about recreation with the bishop?
Yeah, I love those bowling pictures.
I didn't ask him what his
really
average
great.
is, if he's improved his average lately or not.
Or if he has time these days.
Oh, you have to make time. You know, that's an important thing. For anyone who has a very important job, you have to make time to take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. You should know that.
Yes.
But do you do it, though?
Do I?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Okay, fine.
Yes,
Well, Trenton certainly makes its time for the Diocese of Trenton and for the whole Delaware Valley. We have learned an awful lot from Bishop Reiss and his people. And they do so much for us.
Yes, I learned a lot from him today, and you seem to have enjoyed yourself.
Oh, I do.
You like talking with him.
Well, of course, that's kind of priestcraft, I guess. We enjoy being with each other and having someone who knows to talk the same language with us, and we can go at them time after time. So please keep the people and the Bishop of Trenton in your prayers, and pray for us too. Goodbye now, and God bless you.
Good night, everyone.
I am one of many hundreds of Catholic men who have been deeply touched by the Men's Charismatic Prayer Breakfast.
This monthly gathering offers you a personal experience of Jesus.
Our next breakfast is this Saturday, April 20th. We meet at Williamson's Restaurant, City Line and Belmont Avenue at 9 a.m.
Our priests join us for breakfast and then hear confessions during the prayer.
Each month, many men are new, so we have teachings for them.
For information and reservations, call 215-668-HOPE.